Immortal Empires has just launched. Now you, the player, have the daunting choice of deciding which of the 80+ legendary lords you want to play for your next campaign. Or maybe this isn't your first run around. It's your 5th or 10th, who knows? In this new series, I want to help guide you through deciding which lord to choose by giving you a no-spoiler breakdown of each campaign divided by their faction or race. I'll go through each legendary lord, giving you a brief summary of their abilities and what their campaign plays like to help you decide which is the right one for you. Now, I've organized these from the ones I enjoy the least to the ones I enjoy the most, and this is by no means a concrete fact. You might love one of them more than I do. I'm grading them more off my preference, so don't feel like choosing the first lord on this list is going to be a letdown or anything. Now, in this video today, we'll be covering the High Elves, my favorite faction of all time, and you can quickly navigate to any character that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. As always, guys, if you end up enjoying the content, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Help me defeat the greatest boss of all time, the YouTube algorithm. Let's get started here on the High Elf campaigns. First up on our list is one of the twins, Teclis. Now, Teclis is a very fun character here because he gets a brand new starting location and he has the faction effect High Lore Master. This gives him diplomatic relation bonuses with men, High Elves, Wood Elves, Lizardmen, and Dwarfs, which are nice things because you start around Wood Elves, Lizardmen, and Dwarfs. Now, allied recruitment cost is reduced by 50%. Recruitment rank is increased by 5 for Lord Masters of Hoeth, Mages, and Archmages. That's actually really good, especially because the Lord Master of Hoeth is a very great caster character, especially in the campaign. Recruitment cost minus 25% for Sword Masters of Hoeth, a very strong unit, and then that same reduction cost is applied to Phoenix units too, with the new Arcane Phoenix being a part of that. Now, moving into the actual character himself, he's very weak, he's sickly, that's his kind of shtick, but he is an amazing spellcaster. So he has trait Preeminent Mage, which gives him Winds of Magic Power Reserve change plus 30% when increasing, and then Bound Spell Fireball. Not amazing, but nice. Having Bound Spell Fireball is pretty cool here, especially because it has 4 uses attached to it, which is quite a lot. And then if I look at his skill set, he has a lot of pretty interesting skills. Moving through his blue line, it's all standard fare stuff. Moving through his red line, all standard fare stuff. Again, that's this kind of very run-of-the-mill stuff for him because he's not necessarily a renowned general, right? He's a caster. That's his big thing. Do keep in mind, you know, Militia Master is probably where you're going to be spending the majority of your points for all of your characters, because this applies to Spearmen, the new Silverin Guard, Rangers, Archers, and your Lothern Sea Guard. And that's just going to be the backbone of your army. Then when you get into stuff more like Master Strategists, when you're going to jump into your Sword Masters of Hoeth, your White Lions, and your Phoenix Guard, your elite units, and depending on which character you're playing, obviously for Teclis, he would benefit from these, but he would definitely benefit from Sky Master giving a lot of bonuses to Phoenix units. 12% weapon strength to them is nothing to scoff at. Now, looking at his 2, well, I would say maybe 3 unique lines here. He has some fun stuff. So this line, the Shield of Sapphire, this gives him the passive ability for the Shield of Sapphire, but it also gives him, going through the whole line, the passive for Fire, for Lore of Metal, for the Lore of Heavens, for the Lore of Life, for the Lore of Shadows, for the Lore of Death, for the Lore of Beasts, for the Lore of Light. So all of the lores, he gets access to the passive abilities towards them, making any spell he casts actually pretty destructive as far as its passive abilities to you and against the enemy. Then he gets Manifold Sorcery, which is great because you don't need to go down the whole line to get access to this. You only need to invest 4 points. And then the 5th point can go right into here. Winds of Magic cost minus 20% for all spells. That's going to stack up here when we talk about quest items in just a little bit. Then his magic kit is a custom kit including Flock of Doom, which is actually really good in the early portions of the game, especially against Skaven. The Enfeebling Foe, which is great to just kind of reduce melee defense and attack. Net of Amatox, Flaming Sword, Chaining Lightning, Regrowth, which is a great heal, followed by Flames of the Phoenix, which has gotten a slight bit of an increase in its cast time. I'm sorry, not cast time, in how quickly it goes off, which is nice. So this is a bound Fiery Convocation, as well as adding 2 more uses to Fireball. Now for his unique line, Sublime Focus is going to help with that Winds of Magic Power Reserve and Miscast Base Chance. Again, this is going to help out with Winds of Magic. This is going to help out with Winds of Magic. This is going to help out with Winds of Magic because it's also going to grant you Spell Mastery and Power Recharge, because it's greater arcane conduit. Then Glamour of Hoeth is pretty interesting, but I think kind of a little funky here. Melee defense and physical resistance are really nice bonuses to have on Teclis himself, but charge resistance plus 200% in leadership 4. Cool, but I'd rather have a better bonus, I guess. Master of the Order helps out with all of your hero action, cost, and success chance for your mages and lore masters of Hoeth, as well as granting them a 10% ward save. Very crucial here for your lore masters, as they do kind of tend to be in combat. Then he gets the Potion of Choroi here, giving him damage resistance and healing him, which is very nice. An Arcane Phoenix is a mount, which is actually really badass. Just a lot of cool abilities. Moving into quests, he gets 4 damn quest items. He gets the whole entire White Tower Trove. And they're pretty cool here because these two you get just by getting a mission issued to you at ranks 2 and 4, so you can access to them quickly. Cooldown on spells reduced, Scroll of Hoeth helping with power recharge and cooldown reduction, helping out with your Winds of Magic cost for regrowth, as well as miscast base chance, more Winds of Magic, so you can see that you're going to have a lot of Winds of Magic to cast a lot of spells here. Into the War Crown, we get hero capacity and recruitment rank for mages, a ward save increase, cooldown for spells reduced by 30%, so a lot of great ways here to get tons of stacking casting capabilities. Sword of Teclis. The biggest thing here now is the Sword of Teclis gives you spell mastery plus 30% and then reserve per second plus 0.2, which is very nice. Upkeep reduction is great here too. The combat effectiveness of it, I don't really care because I'm never going to throw him into combat necessarily. Like on his Phoenix I would, but even then it would be kind of sparingly, kind of in and out. But also Winds of Magic cost reduction for chain lightning is nice. Now, looking at these actual campaign is where we kind of get into some interesting things, because by and large, Teclis has some really great things that were updated with Immortal Empires, and it's great to see them. For one, the technology tree for the High Elves is a little rough. I really just don't like going through it. I think it's really not optimized very well, especially with militia training being an 11-turn investment where I will probably already have my spearmen and archers recruited, and by that point, I'll be swapping them out for Lothern Seaguard, which is again an 11-turn investment. So I just don't, I have an issue with the technology tree across all High Elves, but I think in particular it makes Teclis' campaign a little more rough and tumble. Another thing here is Intrigue and Court. In my opinion, a very not so awesome mechanic because you have to get a bunch of influence, and with Teclis' campaign that can actually be kind of annoying. When you're playing with Tyrion or Alarielle or even Alith Anar or Eltharion, I find that influence is easier to come by. And the people that you can influence with this are by and large mainly minor factions that I just expect to kind of dissipate over time anyway, or they're going to be future enemies. Like, I don't really care to influence almost anyone on this list, minus the last defenders, and that's assuming I don't want to expand north. Because that's kind of the big thing with Teclis' campaign here. It's the very first on this list because it's a brand new starting location, he's a cool character, he's the best casting character, well arguably, I guess Alarielle's actually really good, of the lot, and he starts in a pretty kind of shit location, man. He's over here in the Jungle of the Gods. He's got Kairos Fateweaver right here, and then he has got Krokgar to his north. So you kind of have to decide, do you want to expand south or north, or south then north, or north then south, whatever you want to do. I think though that this campaign is maybe supposed to be played as a bit more of a choose your own adventure, go wherever you want, use the sea lanes and explore. Because what kind of sucks here is you start with this lore master who starts with rank 1. Well, okay, I can recruit a better one at rank 5 as soon as I get that capability, so that kind of sucks. And on top of it, you have you're going to encounter missions. One of them for your, I think it's the Moonstaff of Lilith. You have to go you have to win 2 battles against Dark Elves. There are no Dark Elves next to you, and this is actually a pretty good item. So it sucks that you're pretty much barred by that, and you have to go find Dark Elves to fight. Also, the Sword of Cain mechanic is really kind of not going to be as easy to tap into because you can't even go get it. So I think that Teclis' starting location is cool and it's exotic and it's fun, but I just think that it falls flat because it's kind of aimless. Once you take the Jungle of the Gods and then you knock out Kairos Fateweaver, you kind of just come north, I guess, and you fight lizardmen over here. Or you can jump over to the South Pole and fight demons over there if you want to kind of continue your demon crusade. You can jump into any of the sea lanes and move wherever you want, but like I said, I think that Teclis's campaign suffers from feeling aimless and makes me feel like I don't really have a short or a long-term goal that is fun or feasible. And that's where I think it kind of falls flat. Now go ahead and let me know in the comment section below if you find a really great use case for Teclis that I have completely missed, because I think that he's such a fun character and he's got all these great capabilities that I just falls flat from the actual campaign location. Next up on our list here is Alith Anar. Now, this is not one of the launch characters, right? Tyrion and Teclis were one of the launch characters. This one came with its own DLC and actually had some very fun mechanics layered into it. Let's take a look here at the Court of the Shadowlands. Campaign movement range has been increased, invocation of Morai Heg, which is a special invocation, and global recruitment duration has been reduced. So all those things are actually very nice, especially because there are a lot of multi-turn recruitment units in the repertoire of the High Elves. But let's talk more about other things in here, because we have a special trait here called the Raven Lord. Upkeep reduced by 50% for Shadow Walkers and Shadow Warriors. Ambush success chance plus 25%, which we'll get into a little bit more with his special stances. And he starts with some interesting stuff. So he can fire wills to moving, which is very nice. He's got Vanguard deployment. He starts with the ability Mislead, which basically creates a copy of him, and he becomes invisible and can snipe, and meaning he can shoot while invisible, and basically that little copy just kind of runs around. And he is a ranged powerhouse. 300 range on his bow with 320 weapon strength, a lot of it being allocated towards armor piercing. That is, of course, going to be the name of the game with this guy. Not the most armor, not the most melee defense, but still quite a lot of melee attack and 400 weapon strength. It is what it is. And he starts with his Stone of Midnight, giving him a ward save as well as passive ability Stone of Midnight with missile resistance in a 55-meter radius around him. Looking at his skills, we get some interesting stuff. Blue line, nothing new here. But we do get the red line that gives access to Loose and eventually Darken the Skies, which is a better form of Loose, which gives a 20 reload skill in a 35-meter radius around to all allies, which is going to be huge because you're going to be focusing a lot on your Shadow Warriors and your Shadow Stalkers. Those guys are really damn good. And that's really kind of what you focus on primarily in the campaign as a whole. So it's pretty much what you're just going to be pouring majority of your points into right here with the Bowmaster ability. Then when you go into his yellow line, it's catered, of course, towards shooting things with range increasing, with weapon strength increasing. Well, that's weapon strength, sorry. With your missile strength increasing. All sorts of stuff. But you then get Volley of Higher Arrows, which is a great ability. It does a nice little kind of AoE damage ability to just do some good AP damage. Now, on his unique line, he gets Revenant for giving him causing fear. Ruthless, which helps out with speed, melee attack, and ammunition for Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers. And then, what did I call them earlier? I think I called them like Shadow Stalkers. Sworn to Vengeance, which helps out with income from sacking and looting. Weapon strength increased when fighting against Dark Elves, and missile strength when fighting against Dark Elves for the whole army. Spectre gives you ambush success chance and melee defense, as well as Renegade helping out with missile strength. All armies faction-wide, which is a very nice one. Shadow King is basically a better Mislead, and you get control +4. Also, no rest for the wicked here for campaign movement range plus 50% after winning a battle, as well as perfect vigor, infiltration for enemy hero success chance and attribute stock. And I think that's it. I think these are the three generic ones. Moving into his quest items, he gets the Shadow Crown, which helps out again with speed and melee defense. Ambush success chance plus 10%. I mean, so basically, like, if you look at this, 10 plus 15, 10, right? Yeah, 10. That's 25% ambush success chance before you even get into anything like Wary, which is enemy hero action success chance, but also ambush defense chance increases here. So you can see there's plenty of ways, or Ancient Cunning, there it is. Aha! Success chance, which is 30% on that ability. Moonbow, good ammunition, range increase, and missile strength, but also gives you this really great ability to just do a ton of damage as well as explosive damage. Lovely, as well as enabling magical attacks. And both of these come very early. This is a quest battle, this is just a mission, so you can get access to these quite quick. And when you look at the actual mechanics here for Alith Anar, he has these 3 targets at the top. And these 3 targets, basically you go and you kill them, and you're given a reward of influence, treasury, and then some sort of thing like Stalk and Slay here. This one's Druki Slayer, gives you diplomatic relations and upkeep reductions. This one's going to give you no passive bonuses, just more influence and gold. So what's nice about this, and one thing I did not talk about in Teclis' campaign, is that when you are playing as the High Elves, you'll be dealt with a number of dilemmas that require influence to make sure those dilemmas actually don't hurt your campaign. And since I find Teclis suffers at getting a lot of influence, Alith Anar can get tons of influence pretty quick by just simply killing these characters. And finding them is just kind of the trick of it all, right? Like, okay, this character is all the way down here. This character is not too far away, but this character is right next to us, which is pretty cool. And you then have your special right you can tap into, Invocation Morai Heg, to summon the special hero here. What's his name? It says right here. The Hand of the Shadow, Shadow Crown, which is actually a really cool hero, and he sounds really badass. And you can go and use that hero to go hunt these guys because it's a 100% guarantee that he'll assassinate them. Then on actual Alith, he has some capabilities like stalking, chance of ambushing enemy armies forces, chance of ambushing any enemy army this force attacks. So basically, just like Skaven, if you attack like that, you're just going to jump into an ambush. Also, use Shadow Realm Pathways here is basically his own underway system that he can tap into. All these are really cool mechanics, but I think what really happens here when I talk about this campaign is if you want to play a range lord for the High Elves, dude, Alith Anar is going to be the one for you. He is going to be so fun. He's a powerhouse, and these units are really strong. The Shadow Walkers are really, really, really good. And same thing here with the Shadow Warriors. You can just have a doom stack of Shadow Walkers and they just crush because they shoot poison weapons. They shoot poison arrows, and they have poison weapons. So then they can fire wills to moving in their vanguard. They're just really damn good. So you can actually have a lot of fun in the early, mid game with them and just pretty much kill and tank your way through most of it. With his new starting position here too at top of Karen Carr, which is a little funky, he has the capability to just pretty much take over the Forbidding Coast. The Forbidding Coast? What a name. And that's cool, but I kind of feel like that's where it suffers. If you want to play a character that is constantly persecuting the war between the High Elves and Dark Elves, and it's a war unending, then this is really going to be the campaign for you. But I personally find that Dark Elves, in a prolonged campaign experience, can be very boring to fight against non-stop because the AI makes pretty much the same armies every time around. You don't get any really cool, diverse, crazy armies. It's just a lot of Dread Spears and Dark Shards into the late game, and then you kind of sprinkle in some monsters here and there. So I think that's where this campaign suffers, is that it focuses so heavily on Dark Elves that it becomes so short-sighted in that it becomes just simply a one-dimensional campaign. That's not to say it's not fun. It's just to say that if you only want to be killing and rampaging through Nagaroth and just killing all of your way through Dark Elves, trust me, you're gonna love it with Alith Anar. But if you want to have a little more diversity in your gameplay and focus on different things, Alith Anar's mechanics don't really lend itself to it because his targets are usually all Dark Elves, and his bonuses on his actual character profile are more often than not bonuses towards Dark Elves. So kind of keep those things in mind when you are deciding if you want to play Alith Anar or not and what your targets are going to be. But if you do want to be that ranged master, you are going to have a ton of fun with Alith Anar. All right, the consummate High Elf campaign, Tyrion. And it's a very fun one. It's a cool one. It gets pretty crazy with Big Daddy T over here. So let's take a look over here at the Majesty of Ulthuan. Diplomatic relations +10 with High Elves. Construction time reduced by 50% for the Shrine of Cain buildings. And the recruitment duration -1 for infantry and cav units, which is great because you're going to be pulling a ton of Phoenix Guard, a ton of Dragon Princes into this faction. Let's take a look at it. Okay, don't need to scream at me about it. Let's take a look at his actual trait. Great Warrior, upkeep reduced for Spearmen, Silver and Guard, Rangers, Archers, and Silver Helm units, and recruitment ring +3 for Lothern Sea Guard. So what makes all that so good is that those are your backbone units that you'll be getting access to in the very early portions of your campaign. And it will make you just a economic machine. Trust me. Dude, look how sick he looks too. He's got the armor of an Aryan on. He looks really awesome. Also recruitment rank +3 for the Lothern Sea Guard after you get the tech that come out at rank 5. That's really good. Looking at his profile, he is an absolute beatstick. Great armor. His melee defense is good, but I'm saying his melee attack is amazing at 75, 470 whopping weapon strength here. He also has martial mastery, which is going to be giving him melee defense and melee attack as long as he is above 25% hit points with good fire resistance, missile resistance. He's just the Chad dude, right? When we look at his skills, everything here is pretty standard fare when it comes to the blue, the red, and the yellow line. He does though get feint and riposte, which is going to give him melee defense, melee attack, and physical resistance for 28 seconds. It's a really good ability here. And you can get really out of control with Valor of the Ages, with his 8% on that, plus the Wound Maker, which is an additional 20% on his weapon strength bonus. Just kind of keep those things in mind because you can just kind of get Bustamante with those. Then you get to dedicate to a specific god as you see fit. Do whatever I guess focuses you in your campaign. This is going to give you an upkeep reduction for your Lothern Sea Guard and make them a little bit better, which is always kind of cool, right? But maybe you want to go real heavy into your White Lions of Trace, or maybe you want to just go jumping hard on your Dragon Princes. Just go whatever kind of fits the playstyle you have in mind for your campaign. Then we get two lines here, either the Majesty of Ulthuan or the Bloodline of Anarion. Bloodline of Anarion focuses on making him a disgusting powerhouse. So that 20 weapon strength and wound maker, we're just going to go ahead and double it as that's the initial foray into this with 12 more weapon attack. Wrath of Cain is going to give him bonus versus large and 10% more weapon strength, and then leadership as well. Keep in mind though, you can see that this is control -1 for local province on almost all of these, right? Charge bonus increase, attribute causes fear, godly preservation, or perseverance is going to increase his hit points and his physical resistance. So it just basically goes to making him a single man army, and he is so strong. We haven't even gone to his quest items yet, my man, and he's great at it. Majesty of Ulthuan though is also very good. He gets passive ability hold the line, melee defense and leadership increased, unifier, which helps out with diplomatic relations and control, as well as income from all buildings plus 13%. Remember, like I said, that economic powerhouse. Sense of urgency, recruitment cost reduction, global recruitment and recruitment capacity increases, righteous cause, upkeep reduction, and then that corruption reduction. So also, he gets Malhundir, his horse, which just looks goddamn cool too. He doesn't get a cool dragon mount or anything like that, but I mean, he doesn't really need it because he can just slay dragons on his own. Moving into his quest items, he gets the Heirlooms of Ulthuan, allegiance, points gained, control, all that kind of fun stuff. The Dragon Armor of Anarion, physical resistance, fire resistance, armor increase now, so he's going to have 140 armor after this bad boy. Ward save plus 10%. The Sun Fang is going to be given to him, which is going to give him flaming and magical attacks, and 10% more weapon strength, and the ability Sun Fang. And then you go into his Heart of Avalorn, it's going to give him a great healing ability, spell resistance. There's just so much shit you get for Tyrion, and it rocks. It rocks like just 10,000 boners. Taking a look at the building browser, he gets cool stuff here with the harbor and gates of Lothern, with growth, tradable resources, income, recruitment rank further increase for his Lothern Sea Guard. The court of the Phoenix King helps out with noble production, his influence cost reduction for intrigue and court. So you can see that this character can just bankroll so heavily everything. And on top of it, you can very easily unite all of Ulthuan under the banner of Lothern very easily. And that is awesome. I think that between Tyrion and Alarielle, that's the unification campaigns, right? Unifying all of Ulthuan under one banner, and that's kind of a very fun, really cool thematic approach to it. Because even though, you know, we talked about Alith Anar and how it's just fighting Dark Elves, well, over here in Lothern, you're fighting Dark Elves, you're fighting Greenskins, you're fighting now demons, you're fighting Slaanesh right at the top. You might even have some Vampire Coast landing on your shores. You have a lot more diversity of factions to fight, and you might even just be fighting against High Elves. So there's a lot of really cool units and things to take apart and fight in this campaign, which is actually very fun. Mechanically, he's pretty bare bones because this is a launch character, so he doesn't have anything crazy or cool. He just uses intrigue and court. His rights are all pretty much the standard rights that he would get access to. Same thing with Teclis. But I think that there's so many cool things around him, getting access to Val's Anvil and the strategic location for this, and all of the cool things like Toralier, all these cool ones, Tirnock over there. All these cool locations kind of make White Tower of Hoth make this a very fun campaign. Shrine of Asurion right here, and I think that it's it's like the least fun, quote unquote, of the most fun campaigns of the High Elves, because when we jump into our other characters, they're all extremely fun too. They just have a bunch of cool mechanics layered into them. And I think that if you want to play the grand unifier of Ulthuan as a warrior character, definitely play Tyrion. He can get so strong, so jacked out with his weapon strength that he can just kind of destroy everything with his sword and and horse. And if you want to play a character that maybe leaves Ulthuan, there's other ones you can play, but you can still play that as Tyrion. Lothern is such a strong location that's its base garrison at level 2. You could take the province of Eataine and then go range out from Ulthuan if you so wish. You don't have to necessarily play on these shores the entire campaign, much like you don't have to for Alith Anar or Teclis, but I think that having this really great strong location to start your campaign out lends itself to going wherever the hell you want if you so choose. So if you want to play that grand unifier, if you want to play the badass, the warrior of warriors of the High Elves, you'll have a ton of fun with Tyrion. Moving over to the Darklands, we have Imrik, the Prince of Caledor. And is a very fun character, one of the FLC characters that came alongside Eltharion. And with him, some fun mechanics. Let's look at the Court of the Dragon Prince. So he gets the dragon taming mechanic, which is really cool. So basically every number of turns, he'll have mighty dragons that he can either get a boon from or fight a battle and win. And if you fight a battle, if you win, you then get that dragon as a recruitable unit for your armies. Invocation of Eldrazi here improves and grants experience to dragon princes and lords and heroes. The Greater Invocation of Vol, additional bonuses for dragon units, and recruitment duration -1 for the dragon and dragon prince units. One thing to kind of mention though is that Invocation of Vol, which basically grants you a powerful magic item. There it is. A Dilemma will offer a powerful magic item. Those items are actually very, very good. Everyone gets access to this one, but his is a greater invocation, which also gives more uses of breath attacks here, which is really, really nice. Now, looking at this character's actual ability, the Dragon Kin, he gets campaign movement range plus 15%. Draconic Resilience, immune to mountain and desert attrition, which he'll be dealing with a lot of, and upkeep -25% for dragons and dragon princes, which is again lovely because those units cost a lot of money. Right now you can see that's 263 for his dragon princes, but he'll have access to buildings and plenty of ways to reduce that further. So, looking back at the character, for his, he does start off too with the Star Lance charge bonus here, 5%. For the whole army, bonus versus large, speed, and that ability Star Lance, which basically gives him flaming attacks, as well as charge bonus, AP, and charge speed. All great things, especially when he gets placed on top of a dragon. And that's that character, right? 60 melee attack and defense, 420 weapon strength with armor piercing and bonus versus large. Lots of armor here, but it's only going to get better once we put him on Miniathmir. Now, he has the Dragon Horn, which is the cool way to basically, well, not basically, it does grant 24 melee attack and cause fear to all allies. And that's great. 16 seconds. It's lovely. It's quite good. And then as we progress through this, he gets Rally and Stand Your Ground. But then he also gets Lord of Dragons as a passive ability, which reduces melee defense and melee attack by 24 and 40 respectively, and then boosts into, well, not boosts into, as well as also getting Heroic Killing Blow. Now for his unique line, he gets the Caledor Incumbent, influence +2 per turn, unlocks your recruitment noble, all provinces, and then capacity +3. Vol's armament is for armor, spell resistance, and research rate being key, of course. Dragonheart gives that fire resistance and leadership to the whole army. Astride the Battlefield gives charge bonus for cav units in the army, as well as speed for the cav units and recruitment rank bonuses. Those are all great things. Ancient Pride helps out with that physical resistance, melee defense, and vigor loss reduction for Dragon Prince and Dragon units, which is great. Then lastly, Ashen Fields, which is awesome, gives that weakness to fire damage plus 20% to all enemies on the map. Then dedicated to Vol, Dragon Princes, of course, industry buildings, as well as leadership for them. And then Blazing Lance, attacks cause flammable effect, reducing fire resistance, which is lovely. Then lastly, Dragon Pact, which basically gives you piercing bolts as a bound ability that just bombs them. It's great. It's 4 uses, it just bombs things, dude. And I really like Imrik as a character. He gets the Armor of Calidor here, which gives control and melee defense when both combined with his Star Lance. The Armor of Calidor itself, vigor loss and healing him. Great things and ward save. So this character benefits from so many awesome abilities. And for those that are wondering, the Fortress of Vorag was where you got access to a special build. Not the Fortress of Vorag, but it's right over here. It's right here. The Darkhold. There we go. The Darkhold is where the Dragon Prince building is, if you were looking for it. And that's where we go. It was in Warhammer 2, so you go there and get your Dragon Prince building that you can get early Dragon Princes in. But the Tower of the Blade Tooth helps out with the construction cost reduction and income. So looking at the actual campaign of this character, again, no special crazy mechanics, just this mechanic right here that basically allows you to get a dragon encounter every set number of turns. And that dragon encounter then leads to you getting a dragon in your army.
Loyalty is all.
As a regiment of renown, basically, that you summon up. If I go into the units and spell browsers, I think we can find the dragon through here. Yeah, here's all your dragons. And they're pretty damn good. They're big, they're huge, they're cool, but they're really good. And I love them, man. And it's such a cool little fun, flavorful way. Like, this guy's really good. Yarmouth the Eternal is just bomb, and they have cool stuff like Primal Rage. They all have like their own kind of special things that are a part of that character right here. Shakalot's Noxious Breath. This character has the Chilling Aura as well as Frostbite, as well as having Frost Breath. So just kind of showing these off here, Rebirth, so it can actually come back to life if it has a chance. It has a chance to massively gain hit points or just die outright, just like Phoenixes do. So just a lot of cool stuff that you get from these dragons, and it makes for a very fun campaign. And in that campaign too, you have a completely untapped resource in the Darklands. Now, of course, with Chaos Dwarfs not being in the game as of the creation of this video, or hopefully they do come in, I'm pretty sure we all think they are coming. This makes it so you can have a massive High Elf Empire over here in the Darklands. You do have the ability to go and take Calidor after, I think it should, no, does it not show it on here? Okay, you have to, I think at next turn it'll give you a mission, but as of the creation of this video, I believe that was bugged, but sometimes Calidor gets smashed out too quick by the Vampire Coast and or Tyrion, and you never get a chance to retake your holdings in Calidor, which kind of sucks. But that's okay. That's not the name of your campaign. The name of your campaign is Conquest. Conquest, in that you can take out the Plane of Bones, the Mouth of Ruin right here. You can just have all this by a very early point in your campaign, and you get such a strong army to do it with. Imrik is really strong. Getting access to a really beefy Cav is super strong. And then you can expand. You can go west over here into the Tomb King's lands if you so wish, because you're not going to take desert attrition. You just have so many cool ways that you can go in this campaign. You can go into the Mountains of Morn. I personally fought in the Mountains of Morn. Personally, myself. In my campaign for Imrik, I got into the Mountains of Morn very quickly and was just giving it to Grease's Goldtooth. So there's just so much fun and so many different ways you can go with this campaign, and not being bound by a number of restrictive mechanics makes it very fun to do those things. Tapping into a bunch of influence too allows you to deal with a lot of the dilemmas that you're going to deal with playing as Imrik. So if you want to play the Dragon Master and have a ton of dragons to choose from and just imbue them in your army and make them just jacked himself, you will have a ton of fun with Imrik. All right, the second to last character to talk about is Alarielle the Radiant, the Ever Queen. Quite a cool character. Now let's go into her mechanics here with the Carnival of the Ever Queen. Gains bonuses when all of Ulthuan is held by High Elves. Receives penalties, though, when there's the latter. Or not the latter, but the opposite. Influence cost minus 25% for intrigue at court. Hero capacity +2 for handmaidens. Invocation of Lilith. Greater invocation of Aisha. So additional bonuses for tree spears because she gets access to them. And her actual ability, too, is going to get bonuses, leaves lingering bonuses on regions she visits. I believe it's a growth benefit here, as well as income. Alarielle weakens its chaos grows stronger, and missile strength plus 15% for Sisters of Avalorn, as well as your handmaiden units. That's going to be the name of the game. You're going to be buffing those units up a lot. And her character actual profile here, she gets the Stave of Avalorn, and that's just her ability. I'm sorry, her item here, which gives her power recharge and miscast chance minus 100%. She also gets the Banner of Avalorn, which is going to give augmentation to the Winds of Magic plus 20% power recharge. And then a Horn of Aisha, which these two you put on a unit. And this is going to help out with reload skill and melee attack as well. And affects all allies in range. So she has already these things out of the gate. And she gets Boon of Aisha, which imbues magical attacks and immune to psychology in a 35-meter radius around her. So she's going to get disgusting pretty quick, so hang tight with me. She also has this mechanic called Mortal World's Torment. So basically, when Chaos is not particularly strong, control, corruption, and leadership aura size benefits. But when Chaos is just ripping and gripping, she gets a recruitment cost reduction for tree spirits, weapon strength increase when fighting against Warriors of Chaos and Demons of Chaos, as well as Norska. It shouldn't be, it's on that list, but oh yeah, the bonus versus large, I guess for some reason is only applying to Warriors of Chaos and Demons of Chaos. I don't know if it's a bug or not. But her miscast, wound recovery time, and Winds of Magic all gets penalties, and weapon strength is increased for her tree spirits as well as physical resistance. She also gets the ability Dwellers Below as a bound ability, which is the best direct damage spell from the Lore of Life. So a lot of great abilities here. Skills, everything's pretty much the same with her blue and her red line. You're probably going to be focusing primarily here on your Sisters of Avalorn. Any kind of benefits them, you're going to find here in your Bowmaster trait. Now for her custom magic kit, she gets Earthblood, which is healing, Phos Protection, Life Bloom, which is that passive healing that she'll be getting for every time she casts a spell, Shield of Thorns for some good stayability here, damage reflection, Shield of Sapphire for some damage resistance as a lore attribute as well, right? So a passive ability every time she casts a spell, Tempest to lock things down in air, Exorcism for leadership and immune to psychology whenever she casts a spell, Arcane and Forging, Banishment, and then Arcane Conduit. And moving into her actual unique line, she's got two different ones. You can go Traditions Dictate, which gives you bonuses civically and more campaign-wide. Control and income, construction cost reductions, diplomatic relations. Servant of Aisha helps out with hero capacity as well as unlocks recruitment for the handmaiden and recruitment rank. Spiritual Defender helps out with that. Sisters of Avalorn as well as reducing their recruitment duration. But then you can go into Blood and Fire. Think like Galadriel from Fellowship of the Ring, which is like, you would have a queen. she gets all rough and tumble. This is kind of more of that focus. So upkeep for your army, movement range for your army, beacon of hope for your army in the local province. That's leadership and melee defense. Gifts of Aisha helps out with armor, ward save, and casualty replenishment rate for your army. Guardian of the Land, cooldown reduction, Winds of Magic, and melee attack again for 4 spirits in that army. Chaos Bane is helping out with that opponents versus large as well as melee attack. Touch of the Everqueen is going to be weapon strength and melee attack as well. Aisha's Blessing is miscast base chance and Winds of Magic, and then she also can be mounted on a Great Eagle, which is great. So we also go into her quest items, and she already has the Stave of Avalorn, which isn't part of her Divine Jewelry, which gives her ward save, but the Star of Avalorn is the hero of this show because it gives her an ability to heal, another ability to heal, and the Shield Stone of Aisha gives physical resistance. So you can see that she is just this support character that can buff up and heal the entire, well, not the entire army, can heal the entire army, but she can just keep the army topped off and really focus on specific units and keep them in good health. With her Boon of Aisha over here, immune to psychology and magical attacks, the Shield Stone of Aisha giving physical resistance, the Star of Avalorn being a heal, she has Earthblood as a heal, so she just has so many things in her kit, in her repertoire to be defensive and keep things topped off. And that's really the name of the game here, again, for this character. Now, if Tyrion is about unifying Ulthuan, Alarielle is about protecting and that unification. And honestly, I think having Tyrion in her faction as in Confederation is such a strong boon, because you take a look here at the Defender of Ulthuan. Basically, you want to make sure the inner and outer rings of Ulthuan have been cemented in the hands of the High Elves. They don't need to be held by Alarielle, they just need to be held by High Elves. And if you do, you get construction costs, income, control, and diplomatic relation bonuses. And I find it to be a really, really, really cool boon. Power of nature, this is her bonus here. So influence, control, growth, winds of magic, and corruption for her just simply being in the presence of this location. So I find her mechanic to be really minimally invasive, right? It's not just so blown out that you're spending such a ton of time on it. You're just trying to unite and conquest throughout all of Ulthuan, and it's really, really fun because she also starts really close to the Sword of Cain, and that's where you get that Galadriel, you would have a queen of storm and shadow, or whatever she says, type of character, where you go and get the Sword of Cain and you're just a destructive monster and you're just a corrupted beast. And I love it because you can use that Sword of Cain to go over here and fight Nakari. You can go over here to unite Ivris and everything. Like, you have all these cool capabilities, very similar to what you have with Tyrion. I think Tyrion can really range off from Ulthuan better than Alarielle, because Alarielle's mechanic kind of binds her a bit to Ulthuan, but I still find it very fun and I find it really interesting. And prior to the DLC that introduced Eltharion, she was easily the most fun campaign, in my opinion, in Total War Warhammer 2. There's just so much you can do in Ulthuan with this character, and so many ways that your army can be just jacked strong. And it's nice too that you get access to your forest spirits. It's not on this list. Here you go. Your treekin and your treemen and also your dryads. They actually work very well accompanied by the rest of the army of the High Elves. So I very much like this campaign, and I think it's a really, really good one that has a really fun narrative that is different than most campaign mechanics that are just simply like, hey, do this because you also have this mechanic you have to deal with. The narrative of this campaign is defend and hold Ulthuan. And if that's what you want to do, you will definitely have a ton of fun with this campaign. All right, the top of the list is Eltharion. He's my favorite character for the High Elves. I had him in tabletop. The only guy I like more than him is Anarion. He's just such a badass in this game. It's High Elf Batman is the way they've kind of marketed him. And let's take a look at this character because he's got some fun stuff. So the Realm of Mist is the faction effect here. Kind of a weird stance. This is going to give him recruitment rank +3 for Spear and Ranger Infantry, which is lovely. Can spread the Mist of Ivris, cloaking Eltharion and his allies' land in a defensive shroud. Who cares about the diplomatic relation penalty? It's greenskins. But it has access to the dungeon of Athel Tamara as well. So for the character, he's pretty wild. So the Warden of Tor Ivris gives him immune to Barren Wastelands attrition, which is nice because you'll be in the Barren, or I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, you'll be in the Barren Wastelands quite a bit. Leadership and melee defense for Spear, Infantry, and Ranger units, and also causes fear when fighting against greenskins. Kind of a double-edged sword there because Spear Infantry and Rangers are great in the beginning, but they do kind of fall off. But the nice thing is that it says Spear Infantry, and I'll show you why that's important once we talk more about his units. For his special abilities, he gets Mistwalker's Barrage as a cool bombardment, Grim Discipline, which replaces Martial Prowess or Mastery, and gives him melee defense 12, melee attack 8, without any kind of requirement here. It doesn't say it has to be above a certain amount of hit points, which is cool. And then his profile is actually really good. He has decent enough melee attack and defense because he's a hybrid caster lord, and he is quite good at what he has. So let's take a look at his skills. So, blue line is the same, red line is the same, but he gets Warden's Stand, which is a melee defense leadership bonus here, which is quite good. And then he also gets access to the Lore of High Magic. Lore of High Magic got a little bit of a retooling in a really cool way. Apotheosis is always going to be a great ability, Hand of Glory, but Soul Quench is actually a lot more powerful nowadays. And Fiery Convocation actually goes off a little bit faster, but he also gets Arcane Conduit, which is good. His yellow line is pretty standard run-of-the-mill stuff, but then into his unique line, Storm of Blades for AP, a huge AP bonus of 55. Break Upon the Walls, ability Unending Volley for missile units, which is really, really strong here, as well as it just replenishes ammunition. Armor +10 for shielded units. Wall Warden, construction for wall and garrison buildings is reduced as well as their time, with also +15 when armor when defending. A World Asunder gives him the passive ability Mistwalker's Barrage he's always had, but the cooldown's reduced by 50%, which is great. Unyielding March for further 10% campaign movement, campaign recruitment cost reduction, global recruitment capacity increase, and then Grim Discipline is lovely because it replaces Martial Mastery and Martial Prowess for the whole army. So he gets it, but now the whole army he leads does. Dedicated to Alarielle, also gives him weapon strength for Mistwalker units and missile strength for Mistwalker units, as well as vigor loss reduction and stock for Mistwalker units. That's very good. Also gets Stormwing, his badass Griffin. Into his quest item, we get the Warden's Inheritance, which gives control and global recruitment, but the Talisman of Hoeth gives basically Hand of Glory and enables advanced high magic. Your ability Helm of Ivris, from the Helm of Ivris, entities cannot die while the ability is active, so basically it just makes so they're immortal for 17 seconds. Then Fang Sword of Eltharion is a really great way to just boost his damage a ton and also grant him some physical resistance and magical attacks. Bonus versus infantry plus 10. So he has a great kit attached to the character himself. But most of the fun is in the campaign mechanics of this character. He has a dual start down over here in the Badlands as well as over here in Ivris, which is pretty nice. And he has this ability, the Warden's Cage. So basically, he does damage over time, reduces the armor and the melee defense, and the unit cannot move once it's been affected by this, a lord or a hero. And then if they are wounded while it's active and it lasts for 25 seconds, they jump into your prison, the prison of Alith Anar. And here you get to interrogate them, you get to do all sorts of fun things with the characters that you capture, and it allows you to build relation, get intrigue, whatever it is, sight on their territory, a bunch of cool stuff. And then you get these buildings, which give you access to these special Mistwalker units. This gives you bonuses to all of them. But then this one's going to give you access to the Skyhawk, the Sentinels of Alarielle, the Spire Guard of Tor Ivris. This is going to give you access to the Alith Anar Faith Bearers. This is unlocks the Mistwalker building chain, allowing the recruiting Mistwalker units in the local region. And this is going to give you a bunch of other benefits, of course, right? Interrogating, a bunch of other stuff that you can do. So this is a really fun building that is kind of layered on top of your mechanics. Then you get these the defense level upgrades, and as you go through them, you get to summon sentinels, you get the Oath of Replenishment here, you just get so many cool abilities that are locked behind this, Unbreakable and Perfect Vigor. All these fun things that kind of lock themselves into the campaign for Eltharion in a really cool way. Warden Supplies is a huge part of that Alith Anar here. So jumping into this though, if I go ahead and press this button, you can see for the unit browser, we get these units. So Alith Anar Faith Bearers are sword infantry. But this is Sentinels of Alarielle are hybrid infantry. The Gate Guard are missile and spear infantry. The Spire Guard of Tor Ivris are Mistwalker hybrid infantry. And then you get the Skyhawks, which are hybrid infantry as well. So you have these really cool badass characters. The Knights of Torgavel, which are monstrous cad. They all ride on griffins as well. Griffins and eagles, I'm sorry. Says some rode griffins, others eagles. A few even purchased skycutters from the Navy of Lothern. So you get these really cool units with this campaign, and it's badass. And this guy has got the Silver and Guard, which came with his DLC, which are really strong units as well, and they count as spear infantry as well as your spearmen, right? So he gets bonuses for all these spear infantries. He can make them even better, which is just stupid strong. And he is stupid strong. And you have a campaign, which is stupid fun. And you have mechanics, which are also stupid fun. So I find this campaign to be the best of the High Elf campaigns. It combines a lot of really fun mechanics. It doesn't make the intrigue and court portion feel so necessary because it's just kind of... intrigue in court. It doesn't feel as necessary because you have so many other interesting mechanics. You could just ignore it if you want. You don't ever have to spend any time with it. Your influence could just be spent on any dilemmas that you deal with. And I just have so much fun playing High Elf Batman. Again, he's my favorite character, so I have a bit of a bias. I think a lot of people would probably put Alarielle as number 1 on this list, and then Eltharion as number 2. But I think that just what you can accomplish and what you can do here with this character is so fun. So if you want to be a hybrid character that is taking other characters prisoner and interrogating them and doing special things with them, trust me, you're going to have a ton of fun with Eltharion. And looking at where he places in the campaign, he has a lot of cool combatants around him, right? You got Sartosa right here. You have got a Scrag the Slaughterer just right over there. The top knots are over in this direction. You do have some pretty wild things down here with the barrier idols with Scarbrand, and then all of the Tomb Kings over here. But you could go north, you could go east, you can just go wherever you want. And I think that this is just going to really be a very enjoyable campaign, layered in with all the very fun mechanics of Eltharion. But this brings our video here to a close, covering all of the High Elves. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section below how you're feeling. Do you like playing Eltharion? Is he your favorite? Is Tyrion your favorite? You know, have you just actually cornered how to play Teclis the best, and you put him as the #1 on this list, and how would you just play that? Should let it be known in the comment section below. Always like to make sure we disseminate as much information out to the people as possible. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Next one up will probably be either the Beastmen or the Greenskins. I'm waiting for the 2.2 patch to do the Empire, because it's going to drastically change especially Karl Franz's faction and character traits. So we'll talk about those when we talk about the Empire. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.